Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about King Con. It's a major that is being held this weekend in France. It's going to be Europe's first major of the year with a bunch of really talented invaders coming on down, and it's going to be a blast to watch. Our top 16 seeds are going to be Super Semi, Leon, Space, and Quick in 13th, Tarek, Base Mage, MK Big Boss, and Raflo in 9th, Skyjay and Bloom Forever in 7th, Siski and Apollo Kage in 5th, Mars in 4th, MK Leo in 3rd, Spargo in 2nd, and projected to win the entire thing is Neo. And the reason that Neo is the first seed is because the winner of Genesis X is flown out to this event as the first seed, but the people that placed above him just didn't want to go or couldn't attend, and Spargo was already attending, so Neo was just the highest placer at Genesis X that actually could make the event, so he's the first seed. And we're going to be staying mainly in the top 32, but there's a couple upsets beforehand that could happen that I want to at least give a mention to. And for this part of the bracket, there's not any I'm super confident in. I do think that Nitoxin almost have a chance versus Skyjay just because he is going to be on the Incineroar, but also he is significantly better than pretty much every single player in this bracket, every single player in the world. So it's very difficult to upset Skyjay, but he's just not on a super great character. Incineroar is not bad, but is he as good as some of the real top tiers in this game? I wouldn't say so. So always the possibility, but I don't think it's a super high chance. Then you're going to have Mars versus Kin. I think this is a very real possibility. If you look at the last time Mars went to a big event, it's going to be Mash Harder 8, and he did have a Game 5 set with Apple Reviewer, who's a very good Mii Brawler player, and you had Kid actually beating MK Leo at the last event that Leo was at. I forget the name of it exactly, but this is a pretty big possibility that Kid could take this upset here. I would still favor Mars just because he's Mars, but definitely something that you got to keep your eyes out on. And the first upset that I'm pretty confident will happen is going to be Orion over Space. As you can see, it is a 3-2 record overall, and all of their sets are extremely close, but you're going to have Orion winning the last two sets, and they did both go Game 5, and it was 9 months ago, but based off the prior history, you would favor Orion in that match. Gotta give a shout out to Chunky Kong, even though it's Samus versus Donkey Kong, and he shouldn't win that one, he just kind of wins the matchups that he shouldn't win anyway, so it's definitely a possibility. Heading for Plug, I forgot to mention that Momon does have a real chance versus Neo because Fox does extremely well into Corrin. I would still favor Neo just because of how amazing he looked at Genesis, but it is a tough matchup. For our next chunk of the bracket, I think the most likely upset is going to be Antra over Leon. As you can see, they played 7 times before, and Antra has come out on top on their last 3 encounters. 2 of them did end up going to Game 5, though, and it should be noted that they were all with Terry as well. I think Antra at this point is pretty much a solo Terry main, and he's still going to have the Ryu, the Ken, and the Kazuya at his disposal, but he just hasn't been using them as much, at least from what I've seen, and I don't even think that's a terrible decision. Terry is a very good character, arguably the best of the FGCs. I would still have Kazuya as the best one, but if you want to say it's Terry, I think that's absolutely fine. Character's damage output, combo game, killing, literally every single thing about him is ridiculously good, and Antra is easily a top 3 Terry player in the entire world. I would still give number 1 to Riddles, then I would have him at number 2, and then probably Aegis or EZS at number 3. But regardless, Antra very good player, and I think he'll take that upset over Leon. And I should also mention that M4E definitely has a chance versus Bloom Forever. He has beaten him before, but he's got to get through Peanut first now. Peanut, he's going to be on the Little Mac, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I can guarantee you that there are no Little Macs in Europe that are as good as Peanut, because there's no Little Macs in the entire world that are as good as Peanut. And I honestly don't think Sephiroth does amazing versus Little Mac. Like, let's not get it twisted. I don't think that Little Mac destroys that character, but you're just able to rush down and break that space so easily because of how quick Little Mac is. And a Forward Smash is going to kill Sephiroth at like 60%. F-Tail's going to kill it like 100%. So I think that's honestly going to be a pretty big hurdle for M4E to overcome. But if he does, he's definitely got a shot versus Blue. And then our final chunk of the bracket before top 32, I also don't have any super strong predictions of who is going to get upset here. I think Roykior has a chance versus Super Semi just because his form has been pretty impeccable as of late, but you could say the same thing about Super Semi as well. These two guys are like the hidden gems of Europe alongside N4E. They are just simply incredible. I think Makuro maybe has a chance versus Apollo Kage just because if you know the Snake matchup, Bowser can definitely abuse that character, but it's still on a super great matchup, and I'm going to assume that Makuro doesn't know the Snake matchup just because that is one of the weaknesses of Europe. There's not a ton of Snake players there, so Apollo Kage should win that one, but you got to give a shout out to Makuro because he's just one of the best Bowser players in the world. It's pretty incredible what he does. And we've arrived at the top 32. Our first matchup is going to be Neo versus Quick, and I think Quick is actually going to take the upset here. They've played once before, and it did go into Quick's favor. You're also going to have Neo with a 2-0 record versus Yaura, an 0-2 record, rather, and Yaura's top 20 in the world, so maybe that's not a great metric, but it is something to know, and Corrin in general just doesn't do super well versus Samus. I would say it's probably a -1 matchup for her, so with all those things considered, even with how well Neo played at Genesis X, I would slightly favor Quick in this set. Then you're going to have Skyjay versus Raflo, the classic debate of Palutena versus Incineroar, and Skyjay is very good versus Palutena. He very clearly understands the range that he needs to play versus this character. He has great success versus Luis. I believe he beats Chag in a majority of their encounters, and he's just very well versed in the matchup, where I can't really say the same thing for Raffalo. Maybe he's amazing versus Incineroar, and fundamentally, Raffalo is one of the better players in this game. I think he has what it takes to beat Skyjay, but just because of how much experience Skyjay has, he should take this set. Then you're going to have Quick versus Skyjay, and this is another time where I think Quick is going to make the upset. Another situation where Samus just does really well versus the other character. Incineroar struggles massively, and like I mentioned for Raffalo, Quick is not going to know the Incineroar matchup. Maybe he gets caught off guard, but I think he's just going to be able to top tier his way through into the top 8. Our next matchup is going to be Mars versus Space, and this is honestly a pretty bad draw for Mars. Aegis is one of ZSS's worst matchups. The great thing about Zero Suit is her neutral, her advantage state, her disadvantage state, and pretty much just her mobility and frame that she's really tough to pin down, and she's got these super quick moves. Aegis is also like that, but she has a sword for the sacrifice of flip kick, so the disadvantage isn't going to be as good, and the recovery is going to be a big weak spot. But the best thing about ZSS is her neutral, and Aegis just has better neutral and a way higher damage output, so ZSS just has to win neutral a lot more, and it's extremely difficult to do against Mythra. And then Pyra is also very good at securing the kill. If Mars is going to win this matchup, it's probably going to be because of the edge guards. That's kind of just the solution to Aegis, and I am going to be giving Mars the benefit of the doubt, saying that he should be able to win this one, but it's definitely a scary draw, and Space has what it takes to make the upset. Then you're going to have Siski versus MK Big Boss, and I'm going to say that MK Big Boss will win this one. They've played 3 times before, and he's going to win their last 2 encounters more recently at Sunrise, where it is a 3-0 in MK Big Boss's favor. And to be fair, he did end up winning that event, so maybe he was just super hot on that day, and I do think Siski can win it, but MK Big Boss is going to be the slight favorite for me on this one. Then you're going to have Mars versus MK Big Boss, and it's another situation where I would just expect Mars to win it because of how incredible of a player he is. Zero Suit Rob isn't super swinging into either character's favor, in my opinion, and you did have Mars losing to Zomba at SmashCon, but one, it's Zomba. That guy literally just won Genesis, and that was quite some time ago. Mars has been practicing a lot recently, so I'm going to say that he wins this one, but there's definitely upset potential here. Next up is going to be Spargo versus Leon, and I would definitely expect Spargo to take this set. When it's 2 sword players fighting off against each other, it really does just come down to who is the better player fundamentally, and Spargo is arguably the best fundamental player in the entire world, so he definitely should win this matchup. Which character is he going to play? I'm not super confident. I would say Aegis is probably his best choice matchup-wise, but Cloud is pretty good into Lucina as well. I would say it is slightly in Cloud's favor, so he's probably going to go with the tried and true and end up winning that one. Then you're going to have Bloom Forever versus Base Mage, and I would expect Bloom to win this one. The way that Jigglypuff makes her money is going to be off the edge guards, and it's really difficult to edge guard Bayonetta, but it also can be fairly difficult for Bayonetta to actually combo Jigglypuff just because of the character's small frame and how different they are, just because of how floaty they are. So maybe that's a bit of an issue, and Bloom doesn't have his combo routes down, but I'm going to give Bloom the benefit of the doubt once again, assume that yes, this top player is going to know how to combo the guy that is in his bracket, but Base Mage definitely has a possibility to make the upset here because he is just so incredible recently. And finally, you're going to have Spargo versus Bloom Forever. They played at Genesis X, and it was very clearly in Spargo's favor. I still think Bloom has what it takes to beat Spargo, and he does have a clear win condition in the edge guarding, but based off recent results, I'm going to give it to Spargo. And our final top 8 qualifier through the winner's side is going to have MK Leo and Super Semi as our first matchup. And they've played once before, and it did end up going into Super Semi's favor at Sunrise. That was also the event where Kid ended up beating MK Leo. And for the Super Semi set, it ended up going Game 5 with Joker and Aegis taking a game. And on paper, Aegis is definitely a better pick into Young Link, but I think Joker is probably going to be the choice for MK Leo in the run back just because he has been investing so much time with that character. And Joker is one of the few characters in this game that I think you should solo main, because Joker at like kind of 90-80% is a very good character, but he's not quite as good as 100% Joker. If you're playing like peak Joker, he's one of the best characters in the game versus one of the better characters in this game, and Leo has clearly been working to that peak Joker, and I honestly think that he's getting pretty close. Even with that sub-poor performance at Genesis, he's coming into this event with a vengeance. He wants that retribution, and I've said it a lot in this video, but I'm going to be giving him the benefit of the doubt. This guy's still top 20 in the world, and I think Super Semi has what it takes to reach that level of play. He is one of the hidden gems of Europe, as I mentioned earlier on, and if he gets more opportunities to travel and just play against better players this year, he definitely could break into that area, and maybe this is going to be his breakout event. Who knows? But I'm going to say that Leo wins it. Then you're going to have Apollo Kage versus Tarek, and Greninja Snake is not a super great matchup for Greninja in my opinion, and most Greninja players would agree with me on that one, but Tarek is not one of those Greninja players. He is very good versus Snake, easily the best Greninja in the entire world versus the character, but even with that, Apollo Kage does beat him in their only encounter at Watch the Throne, so I would still expect AK to win this one, but it's always scary to play against an opponent that's just very good at the matchup. Then you're going to get another Watch the Throne runback of MKLeo and Apollo Kage, and he kind of bopped him those last two games with the Joker, MKLeo, of course, so I would expect him to take this set, but Apollo Kage is a player that you can never count out, and he also didn't have an amazing Genesis, so I imagine both these players are coming to this event very passionate, looking to win, and regardless of who wins, it's going to be a banger. And if you've watched this channel before, you know that we don't do the losers bracket just because a majority of these matchups aren't going to happen due to the amount of upsets that are likely to occur at this tournament. So I've taken the players that are most likely to top 8 and I've given them their percentages, though it's a little bit different this time with this tier. You're going to have the confidence here, Quick, Mars, Spargo, MKLeo. Those are the guys that I picked to top 8 through the winner's side. Then you're going to have somewhat confident with Siski, Super Semi, Bloom Forever, and SkyJ. I think Super Semi is going to get top 8 through this part of the bracket. I think that you're going to have SkyJ top 8 through this part of the bracket. I think that you're going to have Siski top 8 through this part of the bracket because you got to remember I had MK Big Boss upsetting Siski, so that means that he's going to fall here, and I would favor Siski versus Apollo Kage because I personally hate that matchup as Snake, but maybe AK disagrees. And then finally, you're going to have Bloom Forever top 8 through this little part of the bracket right here, and some notable people that didn't have the top 8, Raflo, Nao, Apollo Kage, and Base Mage. For Base Mage, it's going to come down to this matchup between him and SkyJ, and he's got a very real chance of winning that matchup just because of how bad Incineroar's recovery is, but I would still slightly favor SkyJ in that one. Then you're going to have Nao. He just runs to this chunk of the bracket here. Nao, Raffle, and Bloom Forever are all going to be right here, and I think I have Bloom Forever ultimately winning it. Him and Raffle have actually never played before, so I'd be really interested to see who actually wins that. Well, they played twice online, and Bloom did win both those sets, but online can be a little bit different, and I would also favor Bloom versus Nao just because I think Corrin doesn't do amazing versus Bayo. Not a super hard losing matchup, but one that is in Bayo's favor, so I would just expect Bloom to beat both those players, so that's why I have him in this tier. And then finally, you're going to have the also very real chance tier with Tarek, MK Big Boss, Super Semi, again, I don't know why he's there twice, Space, Leon, Antrasafan, Crepsale, and Rarkyor. This tournament is honestly super top heavy, and there's so many players that have a very real chance to get into this top 8. It kind of just depends on who they're actually meeting for this top 8 qualifier, because that's honestly going to be the hardest part of it. And then finally, you're going to have the surely not tier with Peanut and Chunky Kong. They shouldn't get into the top 8. It should not be possible, but they might still because they're just so incredibly gifted at the game. And it's so funny that they're on Little Mac and Donkey Kong as well, because those should be like the brain-dead button-mashing characters, but Peanut and Chunky Kong are some of the smartest players that we have in Smash Ultimate, so they shouldn't make a run, but they definitely could. I realized I forgot to mention Apollo Kage in that final segment, and Snake has a very weird place in the European meta because he pretty much just doesn't exist there. Like, there are good Snake players, Astrat's pretty talented, but they're not quite on the level of Apollo Kage, and I've gotten two conclusions from this. The first one is going to be that Snake's just not a common character there, so AK is going to farm because people aren't going to be ready for the matchup, and Snake is the second hardest matchup check in the entire game, in my opinion. But the second conclusion is that Europe is just a very hard meta for Snake to succeed in. You have a lot of Samus players running around. That's going to be my core issue there, as I already established. I don't think Snake does super well versus Samus, so if AK is good against Samus, I think he's going to have a very good tournament, but if not, it could be a bit of a struggle. And we have arrived at the top 8. We're just going to be doing the projected seeding as per usual. But I should mention, if Quick actually does go in the run that I think he's going to go on, I still think that Mars is going to beat him. And I also think that Mars is going to beat Nao. I don't have a super succinct idea just because we haven't seen Mars versus any of the top Corrin players, but ZSS is definitely a struggle for that character. One of the best things about Corrin is going to be her advantage state as well as her amazing frame trapping, but ZSS just says, I'm going to down B, and now I'm not in disadvantage anymore. And it's just a really big struggle for this character, so I would expect Mars to win that one. And then you're going to get Spargo versus MKLeo. This is a matchup that we have seen 1,000 times before, and I do think that Spargo is going to win this one, simply just because he looked a lot better at Genesis. MKLeo definitely shaky at that event, and I don't think he's going to be shaky at this event. I'm going to write that one off, but I still have to give Spargo the benefit of the doubt here, and he did win their last encounter at LLBM, but they did end up trading sets there, so not super confident on who's going to win this one, but I know it's going to be a banger. In the loser side, our first matchup is going to be SkyJ versus Siski, and they've only played once before, and it was an extremely competitive set that ended up going into Siski's favor. I believe it was a game 5, and I do think this is going to be another situation where Siski comes out on top for a couple of reasons. The first one is going to be that I just think Samus does well versus Incineroar, but the second one is going to be that Siski Also is very good at Incineroar. For those who don't know, Siski has a secondary Incineroar, and he's had pretty good success with it, so he's going to know how to play against the character. He's not going to have that fear factor that most people would have versus SkyJ, and that confidence, I think, is going to be enough to take him over the line. Then you're going to have Bloom Forever versus Apollo Kage, and Snake Bayonetta is a very bad matchup for Bayonetta. I don't think it's as bad as the Veil players make it out to be, just because it can be hard for Snake to just pin Bayo down, and the disadvantage still isn't super fun, but Grenade just gets you out of a ton of combos. It's really difficult for Bayo to secure the kill, and if Snake players know how to use Crouch in that matchup, it can just be an absolute nightmare, so I'm going to expect Apollo Kage to win that one. In the loser quarters, our first matchup is going to be MK versus Siski, and I do think that Leo is going to win this one. They've played twice before, both those sets going into Leo's favor, and if I had to pick between Samus and Joker to win the matchup, I would say that's slightly in Joker's favor just because of the amount of utilization you can get out of Rebel's Guard. Samus just can't throw out Charge Shot willy-nilly, because if you Rebel's Guard a full Charge Shot, you're just going to get Arson instantly, and Leo is the best Joker in the entire world by far at using Rebel's Guard, so I imagine he's going to make maximum utilization out of it in this matchup and be able to take the dub with all of those Arsens. Then you're going to have Apollo Kage versus Neo, and most people think that this is a matchup that Snake does win, and I would say it's more of an even one, and it gets more into Corrin's favor every single day as the Corrin players just get better with their character, their advantage state gets stronger, and the really good thing about Corrin is that she has amazing frame trapping, and Snake can break that frame trapping a lot of time because of Grenade, but you have this massive sword that if you can outspace the Grenade, which you can do very easily, Snake just stays in the disadvantage forever, and Neo has clearly figured that out because he has a 3-0 record versus Apollo Kage, so I do think that he's going to take this set, and I do think that Corrin is going to be a matchup that Snake players are going to start struggling in. In the winner side, you got Mars versus Spargo. The loser side is MK versus Neo. And for Mars Spargo, I would expect Spargo to win the set. Even before Mars kind of went into his semi-retirement, you had Spargo winning a majority of those encounters. And I would definitely say that the matchup is in Cloud's favor. Obviously, the edge guarding is still a possibility, but the neutral can just be super difficult. And Cloud does beat Zero in the damage output. And especially in the killing, you could just throw out these massive back airs. And Zero loves to be in the air. Cloud loves it when you're in the air because he just has these massive anti-air hitboxes. And Mars is, of course, very aware of that. I'm sure he's going to come in with a grounded game plan and a smart game plan, and it's one of those situations where I really just don't know because Mars is a very prep-heavy player. Him and Spargo, honestly, have similar styles where they just force the same interaction over and over again and learn from your previous interaction, so it's going to be a super fun set, but I just haven't seen Mars in so long that I really don't know who's going to win it, and I've seen a lot of Spargo, and he's looked really good, so I'm going to say that he takes this one. Then in the loser side, you're going to have MK versus Neo, and another situation, I haven't seen these two players play, but you're going to have Shattuck beating Leo on their last encounter, and I do think that Joker does fairly well versus Corrin, but until I see Leo overcoming the Corrin matchup, I'm gonna be giving Neo the benefit of the doubt here. It's another situation. Neo looked really good at Genesis. Leo did not look as good at Genesis. Maybe if it was the other way around, I would have Leo favored, but it's not, so I don't. In the losers finals, you're going to have Mars versus Neo, and as I said earlier on, it's just not a super great matchup for Corrin. She struggles in it pretty hard, so I do expect Mars to win this one, but of course, Neo always has a chance because he has a chance versus literally every single player in the world, and our grand finals is going to be that run back of Spargo versus Mars, and if Mars is going to take a set versus Spargo, I think it is going to be in the grand finals just because of how good his adaptation is, but overall, I still think that Spargo is going to win this event. He's just like so solid, and Mars is just such a massive unknown coming into this event, and honestly, there's a lot of X factors coming into King Kong. MK I don't know his form. Apollo Kage can pop up super hard. Bloom Forever can have an absolute run. Spargo, Neo, Mars. There's so many people that I think can take this tournament. That's really hard just to pick one, but I'm going to go with the guy that got top 3 Genesis. Say that Spargo wins King Kong, and with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The support has been absolutely unreal as of late. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!